Welcome to the Creative Condition podcast with me, Ben Talon, illustrator and creativity coach, founder of the Creative Condition, artist and writer. I bring 20 years of creative industry experience and a lifelong love of creativity, a fundamental pillar of human happiness, to you through ongoing personal exploration and the shared experiences of others. You'll get a nourishing mix of creative industry professionals and people far and wide using creativity in ways that can take our learning to the next level so we can maximise our unique blend. The show's been supported from day one by Illustration X, a tremendous illustration agency representing a shining global roster of illustrators and animators over at illustrationx.com. The music for the show is by Dirty Freud, who you can listen to now on all good streaming services. And for everything else, for my coaching, resources and inspiration, head to thecreativecondition.com. Welcome to the show, guys. I'm going to be talking to you today about the mental battery as episode 2 of my new I Am Not Creative Do radio show with Danny Allison hits the airwaves. We are talking about that all-important topic, the mental battery. So I wanted to elaborate and talk to you just a little more as a little, almost an escape pod show to accompany that one, because we talked for an hour on the radio show. You can hear it at thedooradio.com. But really, there's so much more to be said about that. So I wanted to just air some thoughts. So I wrote a little piece over at thecreativecondition.com in the diary. And I wanted to come here and just elaborate and read you some of that, because I think we're all under strain in this world, Our exposure to all the news cycles, to the raft of information, to the incessant nature of communications, the many stacking demands in our jobs. We're all doing multiple roles these days and having to build something new while we sustain the old thing. And it's so taxing. And I think that creativity really is suffering in this moment because people aren't able to manage their mental battery. So that's something that Danny and I talk about very candidly. Danny gets into a full-on mental breakdown that he suffered after a cruciate ligament injury. I believe it was a cruciate. Anyway, a severe injury curtailed his fledgling skateboard career. But it was through the culture that he encountered in skateboarding, the way of seeing the world and questioning everything that drew him to the arts and creativity, which is where he found healing and came through the other side of that breakdown. And he's now a very resolute, strong-minded person. He's always a joy to be around. He's taught me so much in my life and career. So we talk about that on thedooradio.com. You can hear that. It's going out 3 times a day. Go and head to the website and you'll see the schedule there where you have to tune in, old school radio style, before it goes on demand in 3 weeks' time if you prefer that. But I wanted to talk to you guys today. So as ever, big thank you to Illustration X for their ongoing support, founding sponsor of the show. Global, incredible range of illustrators, animators, artists of all kinds, and you can check all that out at illustrationx.com. Do so much great work for the creative industry, fighting for intellectual property rights in the age of automation, among many other things. And as far as good causes go, please do check out the Ukrainian Institute. Wonderful organisation doing incredible work, supporting the embattled Ukrainian creative community. And I'd also like to welcome on board the Paradiso Institute. So I've been working with these guys. They are so cool. It's Hector Ayuso, who I've had on the show in the past, founder of Paradiso Institute and Off Festival. Big name in the industry, wonderful guy, a fascinating life story. I was fortunate enough to write Hector's biography, which we launched at the inaugural Paradiso in Merida, Mexico, Yucatan last year. Hoping to get back there in October for the second outing. Be Crudo. That's their strap line. Go and check out the paradisoinstitute.org. Sorry, it's just paradisoinstitute.org. Absolutely wonderful work that's going on. One of their statements is there is not a lack of talent. New creative voices are emerging faster than ever, visible, influential, yet often unsupported. So these guys, the foundation, the institute, is to support the conditions creativity needs to thrive, doing amazing work right across the board. They just launched a new brand with Dixon Baxter. You'll see it in all its glory at paradisoinstitute.org. Go and dive in and have a look. Happy to be partnering with those guys on the podcast. So let's get into it, the mental battery. Oh, before I do get into it, if you do need some help on any of these fronts, the mental battery, on amplifying your voice and finding your story, that's what I do as a creativity coach. I have a wonderful new story offer where I work with you to intimately write your story, to give you it. We'll negotiate that and come out with a really well-framed, articulated story of your life to date, so you can use it to become the author of your own life moving forward. Get in touch and go and have a look at thecreativecondition.com/coach. Sorry, rambling away there. thecreativecondition.com/coach. So let's get into it. This is a piece I wrote about the mental battery. I would love your feedback. How's your mental battery? How do you top it up? How do you stay energized? How do you avoid being completely overwhelmed? These are pertinent topics, so go and have a listen to the Do Radio conversation between Danny Allison and myself. Well, here is a piece I wrote just called The Mental Battery. The mental battery feels flat today. Zero sleep because the stress jug overflowed. 2 days ago, I was back into a 40k word manuscript I wrote, a new short fiction collection called Madheads, and I felt optimal. The battery was charged. It changes so fast and so frequently in this 1,000-mile-an-hour world. This way of life we've all become victims of. All those demands on our time and attention wear us down. Leading with creativity requires a slower pace, some space for reflection, pondering and pottering aimlessly. But that space is precious and hard to find in a world in which patience is a dying art. We have to be intentional about preserving our mental battery. I ask coaching clients if they'd just hammer their phone, draining the battery in the first few hours of a long day out without consideration for its limits. They tell me, no, they'd need to make it last so they can get home and be available. So why do we treat our minds differently then? They have the same finite energy. When my stress jug overflows, everything feels heavier. Simple tasks like replying to a message or putting laundry away overwhelm me, causing cortisol floods and a racing heart. When I lived in London, I wanted all of the bustling lifestyle and spent weeks at a time in that frayed, exhausted state. Sat at my desk, staring at the wall or dicking around on social media because I wasn't managing the battery well enough. The tank was empty. I've never let a client down, but to deliver, I have to work against my sorry self, hair askew, giant crack bags under my eyes, straddling my nose. My untrained puppy of a brain received little training until my late 30s, when I began to suffer at the hands of a frenetic and action-packed existence. I've never been very good at stress management, but I'm getting there. A rising tide of anxiety over the last few years forced better organisation and deep inner work. But the thing is, even in making a decision like getting organised, sensitivity to information processing capacity must be applied. Some people love digital tools and planners, but my brain abhors a system. It must be 10-year-old friendly for me to commit. I'm happy to admit that. Simple ruled notebook, one column for do and another for reply. Then distill it down into Google Calendar. Sometimes I neglect to write in the book, and sometimes I forget to check Google Calendar. But progress has been made. Social media had to be whittled down to the lowest possible use to remain visible. That's why I accepted the Do Radio invite to co-host I Am Not Creative with Danny Allison. It seemed like a form of marketing that wasn't contrived, that filled my battery instead of depleting it. Each of us owes ourselves such honesty. If it kills you every time you go onto whichever platform, then don't. I used to like Instagram. Now it assails me with content and adverts that bruise my happiness and scream at my inner peace. I've been sharing the radio show there, but I found more focus on LinkedIn served me well. I'm conflicted and still working it all out. Danny is incredibly candid about his mental breakdown before he committed to his creativity and got well. For this alone, episode 2, The Mental Battery, is worth 1 hour of your time. Today, I have to put my head in battery save mode. This means limiting my intake, ordering tasks in single file, and giving each one all of my attention. Writing everything down in my embarrassing notebook. If I don't, I'll start running around my brain when my head hits the pillow. I remember a time I spent sharing a workspace with Danny in Sydney, Australia. 40 degrees heat and a massive workload. sleep deprivation and work stress brought on these terrifying lucid dreams, or waking nightmares, one of which involved a dribbling vampiric possum at the end of the bed. Too many creators are trapped in an exhausting loop of excessive information and sensory overload, leading us to a place where it is so testing to be optimistic and hard to sustain any kind of regular, healthy curiosity. When the battery is flat, we are marooned from great ideas, insights, and big steps forward become sideways shrieks, voicing agitation and discontent. Then, thanks to the low processing power, we build damaging narratives about our creative desire, or our belonging in this industry, our ability to make great work. It need not be this way, but only we can design it for ourselves. There you have it, guys. Danny and I are getting into all of this on episode 2 of I Am Not Creative on theduradio.com, which airs 3 times daily all week, and each episode will be available on demand 3 weeks after its release. Join me. I want your feedback. I'd love to hear your comments. I had some great comments from episode 1, lovely feedback. I'm going to be continuing to release weekly shows here on The Creative Condition. People have said to me in the past, can't get away from that bastard's voice. I remember somebody being on a BA flight, didn't realise my podcast was on there, and was like, right, I'm 30,000 feet in the air and I still can't escape him. Really made me laugh. Thank you, guys. Thank you to Illustration X, the Ukrainian Institute, and Paradiso Institute, who you can check out respectively at illustrationx.com, ui.org.ua, and paradisoinstitute.org now. Nice one, guys. Have an awesome week. Coming back with a guest episode next week. It's a belter. Look forward to that. Nice one, guys. Stay creative.